Hello and welcome to today's webinar on financial spring cleaning. Today's presenters are Charlene Wilde, Assistant Secretary at AAFMAA, and Justin Pearson, Vice President of Business Development at AAFMAA. Before we begin, a little background on the association. AAFMAA is the longest-standing, not-for-profit association that empowers military families with affordable financial solutions. We accomplish this by being the premier provider of affordable life insurance, expert investment management, customized residential mortgages, and exclusive survivor assistance services, all for the military community, not for profit. As a reminder, this presentation is educational. It is for general information only. It is not specific investment, legal, or tax advice for any individual. Do not rely on this presentation alone to guide your life insurance decisions. For individual advice, please contact us directly. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to Charlene and Justin to begin the presentation.
Hey, thank you, Kathleen. Before we jump into our discussion today about how spring is absolutely the perfect time to evaluate your savings plan, we have a very special guest, AAFMAA's COO, Jerry Quinn, who would like to share a little bit about his journey and why military saves is so important. So to go ahead and take it away, Jerry.
Thanks, Charlene. Spring is a great time to evaluate your savings plan. It's also Military Saves Month. Great habits can come from taking a small step of starting to save. And if you're already saving, then reducing debt or saving or investing for some of life's bigger goals, like a home purchase or complete financial independence during your retirement, could be your next journey. Military Saves Month has been around a long time. We've learned if you set a goal, you're twice as likely to be successful. And if you have support, your success increases too. Finally, that setting up automatic savings is the easiest way to pursue that goal. Check out the resources at militarysaves.org. However you choose to commit to your savings and pursue financial independence, the most important part is you get started today. Your simple steps today create great habits that have lifetime rewards.
Today, Charlene and I will be sharing our perspectives as Army veterans and some of our takeaways that we found, which has led us to a better financial position in life after the military. A secure financial future starts with a confident plan, especially as you move through the different stages of life. Now, let's get to some spring cleaning. So what stage of life are you in? Choose those that are applicable to you and your situation. It could be multiple based on the specific situation that you're in: early career, mid-career, or early retirement, and later retirement.
Thanks, Justin. So I'm a picture kind of person. Here is a pictorial view of the 4 stages Justin was just talking about, and some possible financial solutions to consider in each one of those stages. We are not going to go into detail of each of these solutions today, but if you have any questions and would like to discuss them further, please reach out to me at secretary@afma.com, which is also listed at the bottom of this slide and again at the end of this presentation. So what stage of life are you in? I know this is a very loaded question for many and may not have a definitive answer, since many of us can find ourselves in between stages, because life is not black and white and has many gray areas. We have listed 3 great resources to assist you in your initial assessment: militarysaves.org, Military OneSource, and military.com are wonderful references. So let's go ahead and dive into that first stage, which is early career.
With 20 years of service comes a great deal of leadership, especially with guiding and mentoring soldiers early on in their career so they can make good financial decisions. We've all experienced the tales of soldiers getting a brand new car at the dealership just off base. Yeah, those ones that come with a 20% interest rate. Yeah, not a good ending to those stories. So let's set some boundaries by assessing your needs and setting goals.
So early on in your career, not much income is accessible, And you have to be really careful about every single purchase you make. Oftentimes, many people have not clearly identified what wants versus needs are. I've been there and I had to live through that myself. It was not very fun at the time, but I lived through it and I learned my lessons. Now I have savings for 3 to 6 months in case emergencies come up in life. I'm fully prepared. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, that's a great point, Charlene. Bringing up emergency savings. And what I found early on, especially with younger soldiers starting early on in their career, right? When you're able to sit down and provide some of that leadership and mentorship and help them set up a savings plan, right? And make it so it's automated. It immediately comes out of every paycheck. They don't have to worry about it. And even if it's something as small as $50 or $100 a month, over time, they're going to forget about that. And hopefully, as they continue growing in their career, they can start adding on to that paycheck by paycheck, even if it is only $10 more a month every paycheck, over the period of a year, 2 years, 3 years, they're really going to have that nice nest egg of savings in emergency situations. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Exactly right, Justin. I know that in our house, every year on our birthday, that's our birthday gift to ourselves, is to increase our automation of savings.
Also, something to think about, is as we're saving and we're growing our family, we're really trying to be able to provide financial security for all of our loved ones around us. I think that's really important as we're assessing our needs and building our family, to be able to really determine some of those needs. And that could be something as simple as, creating a college fund or a college savings plan in support of your loved ones for them to be able to further their education. Or it may be setting up a retirement account and funding that retirement account. So at a specific age, that you feel is necessary in your life and you've met those specific financial needs, you can start a retirement early and be able to facilitate those different life goals and things that you want to accomplish once you decide to fully retire.
Great point, Justin, because a plan is just a plan without action behind it. So the next stage is mid-career. Mid-career is such a busy time of life, and things are continuously changing both professionally and personally. As your family grows, so does your financial awareness and resiliency, or it should be.
During this point in time in your life, you haven't fully committed to, yes, I'm staying in the military for 20 years. You're always talking about continuous transition opportunities, even though you may not have made that decision yet. You're really trying to understand what you want out of life, out of the military. So this is a great opportunity for you to be able to start planning for your next career and looking at, hey, if I have to move from one location to the other and reestablish my family in another location, am I going to be prepared for that? So as you're leaving this service, one of the most important things to think about is your life insurance, because you're going to have to be transitioning from the SGLI that you normally have coming out of your paycheck every month now into finding a new civilian insurance policy and even potentially considering VGLI as an option.
Great point, Justin. That's one of the biggest decisions a family has to make at this stage. Well, the easiest choice is replacing it with VGLI, but it does not offer the best rates in the long term. At the point of retirement, the rates seem pretty reasonable, but over the long term, and the rates just get astronomical. Hey, Justin, didn't you experience that personally?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did, Charlene. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I got a late start with respect to assessing my life insurance needs when I was leaving the military. It was a very stressful time, as many of you all know, as you're trying to transition from one career to another, relocate your family. The last thing, the very bottom thing on my list was life insurance. And so during that, it was extremely easy for me to say, oh, no life insurance exam needed. I don't have to answer any questions. All I have to do is check these 3 blocks for this initial low rate. Okay, I'm going to go with that. And I really didn't do the in-depth research I needed to do based on my medical scenario, based on my military experience, to do that right comparison to VGLI and to understand how different policy rates in different medical situations correlate to the overall price of your policy. And as I started learning more about that and looking, in 15 years from now, when I look at VGLI based on my current AAFMAA policy, it was a considerable amount higher. And I really wish that early on in my military transition, I would have taken advantage of life insurance resources that were at my fingertip, took a quick pause and assessed those specific insurance policies. And I would have found early on, wow, this is a great opportunity for life insurance. At AAFMAA, it was a no-brainer to me because at this point in time, I have an AAFMAA policy for me and my wife. But then I just didn't have time to make that decision or even assess that specific point of time in my life. So take the time to assess based on your particular needs early on in the transition before the VA disability process starts, right? So you can lock in low life term rates, a 20 or a 30-year policy in which that, several years down the road, you're not going to have to jump from one policy to another. You locked in a low rate, an affordable rate with a great company. So I'm really excited about having both of those AAFMAA policies.
Thanks, Justin, for sharing that experience. I know that you're not alone in that. Our next stage is early retirement. For many, including my own family, early retirement is essentially transition into your next career after the military. If you have children, they may be getting ready to complete high school and possibly going into college, which is a whole new area of financial need. But we're not going to get into that today. You're finally able to settle into a more permanent living situation and to start dream about the day when work is no longer part of your daily routine. Maintaining proper savings and investment is no longer just a good idea as it was early on in your career, but it is critical for long-term success. We want to make sure all accounts are up to date and critical documents like your new DD-214 is stored in a common place in case of emergencies.
Just like our digital vault. And we provide those types of services to be able to have awareness for your family so they'll be able to access those particular documents. This is also a great opportunity to start your children off on the right foot and how to continue the legacy of the military family. It's really essential that you build the right communication channels and areas for them to understand where to go to find all of this documentation. Because when an emergency happens, if they don't know plan A and plan B, and they're just left in the dark, they're really going to have no clue on where to go to be able to find emergency information, especially with respect to, say, life insurance.
Great point, Justin. The final stage, later retirement, we all cannot wait until it arrives. I know I can't. You get to reap the benefits of all your hard work you put into the savings plan and all the other stages of your life. So this stage, it is okay to be a little selfish. It's all about minimizing additional financial obligations and downsizing if needed to adjust to a possible reduced income.
You're also starting to think about your long-term strategy and maybe different types of care that you may need, as well as further preparing to be able to carry on the family legacy.
Exactly right, Justin. And Justin, don't forget about the family legacy that you talked about earlier in our presentation. This is a great time to ensure your generations are protected for years to come, including your spouse, your children, and grandchildren.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Charlene. And that makes me think back to just a couple weeks ago. I really came to a point in time in my life where I had to honestly assess, am I really protecting the needs of my family? And I had to think, am I ready for the situation when my significant other or my children pass? And the hard fact that I found, I wasn't prepared for a savings perspective. I immediately thought, well, the only way that I'd be able to make it through this situation is if I sold some land. So then I said, well, you know what? For a very, very low rate, why don't I just get my wife a policy at AAFMAA? It can't be that hard. And they've been doing this for over 142 years. So I contacted one of our military member coordinators, and they helped me fill out the application. And days later, I had a policy approved for my wife.
That's wonderful, Justin. I wish that everybody would think that way, that it is truly a whole family and your legacy that you leave behind. So, in summary today, Justin and I have discussed the 4 stages of savings and possible points to consider in your overall financial readiness. We hope that you've enjoyed our presentation. If you have any further questions on any topics we discussed today, our contact information is listed below and on the next slide.
Thank you so much, Justin and Charlene, for this very informative presentation. Again, if you have any questions about the topics discussed or anything else that AAFMAA can provide, feel free to reach out to Charlene directly with the information here or through AAFMAA.com for more general information. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to our next opportunity to serve you.